Did you know that it's possible to remove the tattoo that Trevor gets in honor of the supposed death of Michael that's on his arm? And then you can put a tattoo on his chest saying that he'd rather cut his wrist than betray his own flesh and blood? Yeah, folks, Trevor is not only a very peculiar guy and really crazy with his ideas, he has some really insane and bizarre facts that I'll be bringing to you in this video. Today's video will be 20 facts about Trevor in GTA 5. I hope you guys enjoy it, and if you do, there are also 20 facts about Franklin and 20 facts about Michael here on the channel, so be sure to check them out because it's really good. That being said, hit the like button and let's get started. The way Michael and Trevor met was pretty much by chance. They met when they were trafficking goods on the border between the United States and Canada. For those who don't know or didn't pay attention to the dialogues, Trevor is Canadian, so much so that he is often teased in the game because of his Canadian accent, and Michael is American. Both of them were already in the world of crime at that time when they met, and they were kind of set up during this job, so they ended up helping each other by killing another person and burning her body, which Trevor himself says you can still smell the burning today, like he remembers the smell perfectly. After that, they became extremely close friends and robbery partners down the line.
Alright! Fuck! I was running this small air freight outfit in North Yankton. A tiny operation. This one Beagle I could borrow when I needed it. We were kids.
Kids with planes.
So, this guy I know says there's this other guy needs some hot cargo moved across the border. Money's good, and I don't know enough to check references, so I'm in. A few days later, I'm waiting on the runway. I see this dust coming up off the road. Only it ain't one dust trail, it's two. I got told one guy in cargo. First car comes through the gate, stops, someone comes out. It's my age, just 20, kind of fat but strong underneath.
Love at first sight.
Yeah, something like that. Other car comes through the gate. Old guy falls out, starts yelling and waving his arms and pointing at the kid.
The dude that got jacked?
Who fucking knows? Fat guy's running, old guy's shouting. I don't really care, I play peacemaker. Concerned citizen. I get close to the old guy and I pull out this flare gun I'm carrying around, squeeze the thing off in his eye.
Shit.
It was horrible. We had to pick up the body and dump it in a lake on the way. Thing was still burning in his head when we dropped him. Plane never smelt the same. Both of us threw up when we landed. It was quite a baptism.
You ain't never clapped nobody before?
Not really. Some deer, foxes, drifters, nothing serious.
Ha! So that was like it? You and Michael rolling on through?
Más o menos. Michael didn't have the nerve back then. I didn't have the direction. Kinda worked.
Until Michael got his nerve.
Until he got it, and he lost it. But that's another story.
If we choose ending C after going out for a drive with Trevor along with Franklin, Michael, Lamar, Jimmy, and other characters, in some of these dialogues Trevor will end up saying that at one point he was hating Brad, and that over time Trevor would probably have killed him. Is it possible to remove the tattoo that Trevor gets in honor of Michael on his arm that says "Rest in peace, Michael," and put a tattoo on his chest that says something like "I'd rather cut my wrists than betray my flesh and blood"? A very cool detail. If the player visits the Psychic Shoutout game website and talks to Miss Marcy using the character Trevor, he will be holding his own penis and end up asking her in the chat what he is holding in his hand. She will describe it as small and worn out from excessive use, and also very special to him. She ends up leaving Trevor impressed by correctly guessing the item, so he asks her if his mother is proud of him, which immediately makes Trevor very angry with her for mentioning his mother. He asks what she knows about his mother and if she is alive or coming through Miss Marcy. Miss Marcy then ends the conversation. Trevor, he was physically abused by his father and psychologically by his mother. We can see this in the scenes of the missions Hang 10 and Mrs. Phillips. In the mission Hang 10, he ends up saying that his father treated him very badly, and in the Mrs. Phillips mission, you can clearly see that she did an absurd psychological job on him, which left Trevor very disturbed.
All I've got, all right? I had a tough upbringing. My daddy was not nice to me.
Who wouldn't forget about his mother?
But Ma!
But Ma, nothing. Not a peep. I carried you in here. I fed you. I weaned you. Now look at you. You always were an ungrateful, wretched, sniveling sack of shit of a boy. You know it, and I know it.
However, despite all this disturbance and everything his mother must have done to him, he kind of worships his mother like a goddess. We see him apologizing and obeying what she asks him to do, almost without questioning the fact. There are several theories on the internet, including that this mission is nothing more than a hallucination in Trevor's head, but tell me below what you think. Trevor used to play hockey in his teenage years, and from what I understood in his conversations, he was really good at it, until one day he ended up shoving the stick up the coach's ass, I would like to emphasize just one thing before moving on, which is that almost everything I'm talking about here was taken directly from the game itself, with dialogues from Trevor with other NPCs or in game cutscenes. I know that many people end up not paying attention to this, but just to make it clear that I'm not making anything up, these are all things that are already in the game that very few people have explored, okay? Also in Trevor's youth, he ended up discovering golf, and just like hockey, he was very good at it. When we play golf with Trevor a few times, he ends up claiming that he was a national champion in the under 18 category, and that he almost became a professional golf player. I really hope that his golf coach didn't have the same fate as the hockey coach. Trevor holds the position of being the only protagonist in GTA to have canonically killed another protagonist, as he killed Johnny Klebitz at the beginning of his campaign in GTA 5. And for those who don't remember or didn't know, Johnny Klebitz is the protagonist of the GTA 4 DLC The Lost and Damned. Trevor actually joined the military, and he had a dream of becoming a fighter pilot and maybe one day dropping a nuclear bomb. He talks about it in the mission A Reunion of Friends, which is when he is heading to Los Santos. However, he also mentions that the psychologist deemed him unstable, condemning him to stay on the ground forever.
So, this kid, he could fly planes. So, he signed up for the Air Force to fly all day long and bomb villages and maybe, just maybe, drop the nuke. And it was all going well until one day, just before he got his wings, an evil witch in charge of psychological evaluations told him he was unstable and grounded him for life.
Sometime after leaving the army, Trevor became a drifter and ended up starting to commit minor crimes. With no new professional goal in sight, he fell into a deep depression. Because his dream of being a pilot, which has been a dream of his since he was a child, we can see that Trevor really has a passion for flying, for being in planes and helicopters, etc. He is very good at it, he enjoys it, and when he left the army for this reason and was condemned to the ground, he fell into a deep depression. Trevor also mentions that he was abandoned by his father in a mall, and years later he returned to the same mall where his father had left him and ended up setting it on fire. Man, that's some revenge right there, because it wasn't even the mall's fault, it was his father's fault. I can only imagine what he would do if he ever caught his father. It would be a total mess. Few people know, but Trevor had a brother named Ryan, and apparently he died mysteriously in a car accident. The only time Trevor mentions his late brother Ryan is when he talks to a man dressed as a zombie on Vinewood Boulevard, who is one of those special characters in the game that you can go and have some pretty different dialogues with, in which he ends up saying, "Hey, you remind me of my brother Ryan. I'll leave here a complete excerpt for you to see. That's pretty cool."
My brother!
Hey.
No. You remind me of my brother, Ryan. I mean, after he was dead.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
No, don't be sorry. I'm glad he was dead. It was an accident. All right, that's all I have to say.
While Michael and Franklin have the ability to greet people politely when you press the interaction button on the controller, Trevor goes completely in the opposite direction. He can only insult people, leading them to flee or fight against him. Additionally, he has unique provocations against gang members, overweight people, fat people, beggars, homeless people, very hip people, police officers, and even the elderly. In other words, Trevor is unique even in his dialogues. The guy is simply insane. After making the mistake of robbing a store where the person he robbed knew him, Trevor ended up spending 4 months in prison. The total sentence, if I'm not mistaken, was 6 months, and he stayed 4 months in solitary confinement. We can see him talking about this during the Paleto Bay heist. On the way to the bank, they are discussing their first robberies, and Trevor and Michael talk about the fiasco that was Trevor's first heist.
Facts. That Check's cash place? I went in, took him for $8 grand, walked out.
It was a bit more complicated than that, though, wasn't it, T?
Maybe I knew the guy. Maybe he ID'd me.
Maybe you did 6 months.
Maybe I was out in 4, and that, children, is why we don't leave witnesses.
That, children.
Contrary to what many people think, Ron Jakowski, who is Trevor's friend, was not the one responsible for his own separation from his wife, as he mentioned several times during the game that he has debts due to the divorce, among other things. In fact, Trevor was the one responsible for Ron's separation. You can find this out by calling Ron using the character Trevor after Trevor arrives in Los Santos, where he is at Floyd's apartment. You can give Ron a call, and you'll see this call right here. Just take a look.
Trevor, you called?
No shit! What's happening?
My ex-wife called me again.
Man, there is nothing worse in this world than an ex-wife. A perpetual reminder of life's mistakes.
A dreadful mistake. She's thinking of suing me again.
For what? You live in a trailer.
She heard my radio show.
If she heard your radio show, she should pity you, not sue you.
That's nice, Trevor.
No, Ron. It's not. It's unkind, but it's also true. Your ex-wife was a bitch. I did you the favor of a lifetime when I scared her off.
You did. You really did.
If after 12 years of happy marriage, one simple threat of dismemberment was enough to send her running, well, I don't know. And she was having an affair. We proved that.
You're right, Trevor. She wasn't committed enough.
Exactly, Ron. Now get back to fucking work, all right? What are you yabbing at me for?
Trevor mentions at one point in the game that he has already eaten human flesh. This explains why he probably takes people to the altruistic cult without any remorse, where cannibalism also happens. We can kind of perceive that through the dialogues. We never actually see any human flesh being consumed there, but it implies that every time we bring new people to the altruistic cult. According to Trevor himself, if I'm not mistaken, in a conversation with Jimmy, he even claims to have been dead for 5 minutes after sticking an axe into a power line. Man, after seeing this one, I just realized that Trevor is really bizarre. The guy was dead for 5 minutes and came back to life to wreak havoc in Los Santos. Trevor's favorite radio stations are Channel X and Los Santos Rock Radio. Just like Trevor ended up messing with Ron's life, causing him to split up with his wife, Trevor also messed up Wade's life a lot, even though Wade didn't realize it. Trevor implicitly says that he killed Wade's friends at the quarry in Sandy Shores. He talks about it in the mission Hang 10 after killing Deborah and Floyd, where he also tricks Wade into thinking they both left. Despite Trevor not really liking that Michael has acquired a family, meaning children, Trevor kind of feels jealous about it. He feels obligated to take care of Michael's children, especially if any issue arises with him. We can see this in the fame or shame scene where he goes after Laszlo hits on and tries to take advantage of Tracy, and also when we hang out with Jimmy using the character Trevor. Trevor won't let Jimmy consume alcoholic beverages, which shows that Trevor cares a lot about both Tracy and Jimmy. Nevertheless, if you come across Tracy and Jimmy with Trevor at separate times and interact with them, you will see that all the dialogues Trevor has with Jimmy and Tracy are insulting both of them, which is quite funny.
Wow, you really let yourself go. You're breaking your father's heart, you little tramp. Get a job, you lazy slut. My God, you used to be such a nice girl. You poor fat fuck.
Give me a break, Uncle T. You're as bad as my dad.
You annoying fat turd.
I always looked up to you, T.
Jimmy, my boy, you've got to take some exercise.
I tried, Trevor. I just prefer smoking pot.
Poor little Jimmy. I bet that blubber has shrunk your cock.
Actually, no. It's still okay.
Just like Trevor has several absurd quirks, the other characters and the missions in GTA 5 have even crazier quirks. By clicking next to the yellow arrow on the final screen, you'll see a fun fact about each GTA 5 mission, and trust me, it's sensational. With that said, a big hug to you all, success, and see you in the next video.